ในช่วง World Update วันนี้นะคะเรายังอยู่กันที่งาน Invest ASEAN 2017 นะคะที่ประเทศสิงคโปร์ค่ะไปดูกันดีกว่านะคะว่าท่ามกลางสภาพเศรษฐกิจโลกที่มีการฟื้นตัวอย่างเห็นได้ชัดแต่ยังมีความผันผวนอยู่ตลาดหุ้นของอาเซียนมีความน่าสนใจในสายตานักลงทุนหรือไม่ค่ะซึ่ง Money Channel ในวันนี้นะคะก็ได้รับเกียรติพิเศษจากทาง Kim Eng Security ฮ่องกง Limited นะคะให้เกียรติสัมภาษณ์กับเราค่ะเกี่ยวกับแนวโน้มการเติบโตของตลาดหุ้นอาเซียนประเทศไหนจะมีการเติบโตที่โดดเด่นเดี๋ยวเราไปติดตามได้เลยค่ะ
Put it this way, I think for Asia, I would say we expect that. We think that we see there's a lot of short-term technical bonds in Asia, but we expect that in the first half of this year, we expect there will be a sharp global market correction. Yeah, mainly because one, we see the risk of protectionism is rising, and also we see China is trying to slow down their credit growth. And also the valuation right now is not cheap, and also there are a lot of elections in Europe, so there are a lot of uncertainties, especially in 2Q and 3Q this year. So this is why we see there is this risk of sharp global market corrections.
Yeah. Which region will get the biggest hit for that?
We think there will be biggest hit will be in developed markets, especially I think maybe in US. Because the valuation right now is not cheap already, and I think a lot of expectation has already priced it into the market. Yeah, so the downside is much more than the upside. I think put it this way, I think when you see a sharp correction, I think definitely it will be more like a short-term thing. But long-term, I think it really depends on how Donald Trump is going to implement his policy. But however, we haven't seen any details about what he will do, and he hasn't announced it. The details as well in his latest policy address. Yeah, so in long term, I think we need to see much more about what he will do.
What is your best view?
I think he definitely will start. He definitely will want to do the protectionisms. Given, this is what he keeps saying during the campaign. Yeah, and put it this way, I think global protectionism or trade war is definitely not good for the current global growth recovery.
Okay, but apart from the protectionism that he has been saying or announcing that he is going to be doing, he also said that he wants to focus on the pro-growth.
Yeah.
So growth of the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
Will that have a positive effect on the U.S. market as well?
I think this is what the market keep trading in the past 3 months already. So because he hasn't announced any details, and especially I think that even the infrastructure programs, how he's going to finance it. So I think people have start locking profit for all those reflation expectation trade recently.
Okay. Talking about the volatility of the market, can you compare between this year and last year? Will it be less or more?
Oh, definitely much more. In terms of volatility, I think definitely much more than last year. And in the past, we keep talking about, in the past 2 years, we keep talking about currency volatility. And I think this year, we will see the rotation from currency volatility to bond and equity market volatility. Especially, the bond and equity market volatility right now is so low. Yeah, so I expect the equity market volatility in this year will be much higher than last year.
So is equity market still interesting in your point of view?
Put it this way, I think this is why our view is much more cautious, and we prefer much more on defensive sectors in country as well. Yeah.
So what are they?
So our view, we within Asia, we prefer Southeast Asia market much more.
Okay.
And within Southeast Asia market, we favor Indonesia market. Yeah. And within sectors, we favor much more on telecom sectors because of the defensive characteristics and also the dividend yield as well. Yeah.
What is the reason behind why you favor Indonesia more than other country in the ASEAN region?
First of all, in Indonesia market, we see the government is doing a lot of structural reforms, and also we see the net FDI, they have a net FDI inflows, and also the market is much more resilient. So if we have a trade war going forward, Indonesia will be much less impact than the other countries.
And the sector is telecom in Indonesia?
No, in terms of sectors, I mean telecom is saying that the Asia telecom sectors rather than Indonesia.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me put it this way: in country perspective, we favor Indonesia. Put it this way: under rising interest rate environment, I think the market has already priced in the rising. I mean, especially in the U.S., I think the market has already pricing in the rising interest rate environment already. Unless you tell me that the U.S. is going to have a rate hike much more than expected, but I don't think this will happen, honestly. So I think the impact of rising interest rate, I think, has already priced into the market already. Yeah, and if you look at how the U.S. dollar trade recently, even after the Fed rate hike, I mean the U.S. dollar was not very strong already. And in the past 2 years, we were very bullish on U.S. dollar, but now in long term, we think it turned negative on U.S. dollar because we find it's very difficult for the U.S. to continue to attract capital if they are really going to implement all those protectionism policies, anti-free trade policy. Yeah.
So you think the dollar is already near at the maximum level?
Put it this way: in short term, there are still a lot of uncertainty factors because if the European election give out a very shocking result, then the money will definitely go back to where they comes from. So in that case, U.S. dollar will move up sharply. Japanese yen will also move up sharply as well. So, this is why I said in long term, I mean, we are negative on U.S. dollar now, but in short term, there are still many uncertainties.
Okay. How's about the direction of the fund flow this year? Where it will go?
In terms of fund flows this year, in 1Q this year, we see a lot of short-term money goes back to emerging market or goes back to Asia. But the way they trade is they first go into the market that underperformed last year. So this is why in January we see Philippines outperform. And then in February, we see a lot of money went to Hong Kong China market. Yeah, so a lot of rotation is happening. Yeah.
Okay. Indonesia is a country where you overweight. How about your country where you underweight?
We less favored in the Philippine market. Yeah, because one, we see the net FDI outflows, and also we are not positive on the peso.
How about the investment strategy this year? What would be the most suitable one for investors?
I think I would say be more cautious. Yeah, because there are a lot of uncertainty, and the volatility in this year is definitely much higher than before.